It fits on my head, but just barely. Like, you can see my chin is right at the bottom of it. But luckily, I was able to borrow a turtleneck from my brother to kind of hide that. The bad news is, when it is closed, my face is like totally pressed up against it. And you can see as I'm talking, it's totally fogging up. Oh man. It's kind of tough. Anyway, lastly, we just got the gloves. I opted for the longer garden gloves just because I like the shape better. I love the color. I think black would have looked a lot nicer to match the boots. But it's nothing we can't fix in post. But anyway, that's the outfit. That brings us to the setup tour. Woo! I had to rearrange the whole house to make room for my brand new green screen. This is green screen number 3, by the way, being by far the biggest. Anyway, a lot of this might seem like it's pretty excessive, unnecessary, not the best way to do things. And you're totally right. I want to be perfectly clear, I have no idea what I'm doing right now. I'm thinking we just start with the main one of me just kind of standing there. That seems relatively easy. Let's get that set up. Okay, I'm going to connect this camera to my phone so I can see the live feed, which also means it's going to get really stuttery for you guys. Sorry about that. Okay. I think we can pull this off. This actually might not be too bad. Do I want my glasses on under the visor? That wouldn't make like a ton of sense. Does it make sense? Do astronauts wear glasses under their visors? I'm gonna wear them. Okay, I'm gonna do a 10-second timer. Go. So I do the beats. What am I posing like? Some notes. I need the turtleneck up. You can fully see my exposed neck. We want my hair moved out of the way, probably. You really can't see my face well at all. How would it look if I, like, digitally added a visor? You know what I mean? Like, I take the visor off of this physically. Oh, guys. Holy cow. Okay, I managed to get it off finally. Using some freaking pliers. Oh, that was way too much. Okay, back at it. I took picture after picture, and I just kept messing up. Oh, I felt weird posing on that one. My hair was just totally poking out. Also, that pose sucks. But after a while, I finally settled. Okay, that felt better. That felt good. Let's move on to the other ones. Okay, so same sort of idea, but I'm going to be crouched down. Also, I know I'm not being totally historically accurate with, like, wearing the orange suit rather than white. I don't know about that one. But think about it, if YouTube existed back during the moon landing, they would want to make it as clickbaity as possible. I was not ready for that one. And if you ask me, I think they would have actually considered wearing bright colored suits on the moon, which is totally grayscale, just to make it as clickbaity and visually poppy as possible once it ended up in the news and YouTube. I think we just move on to the next shot. Let's move the camera, finally. The problem is I'm like too tall for this tripod. Like you can see right here, this is what the shot looks like when it's absolutely the widest. But I'm definitely taller than that, so if I try to zoom in, it just zooms in on like my chin and mouth. So genuinely, a lot of the time when I record stuff, I ended up crouching down. Now just to be safe, I'm gonna make the shot a little wider than I need it to be. So we just go like this. I forgot it was at 10 seconds. The pointing is so funny. Okay, now let's just get that last shot with the boot. Now, I'm not gonna lie, these pictures went kind of hard, but I realized they weren't really gonna work out. I'll explain more later, but for now, let's skip on past that to the video segment. I know I showed you guys part of it at the beginning of this video, but I made it a bit longer than that, so stick around. I think it would be kind of fun to make an intro for this thumbnail of the moon landing and just be totally over the top, like Mr. Beast style, like I just landed on the moon, whatever. Oh, it would probably look better with the visor for the video part, huh? My nemesis, the visor with the astronaut helmet, back again to torment me. I think we start with the visor up, actually. This is like in a rocket ship sitting there. I guess I'll just like act like I'm in a chair.
Not funny.
Just a little fun fact for you guys.
Funny.
So funny.
I suck at recording videos.
Fanny বললে তো তাহলে F-E-N-Y.
I'm gonna be the
Fanny
first
হচ্ছে তোমার একটা ডিস্ট্রিক্টের নাম।
I'm gonna be the first person in history I'm gonna be the first person ever to land, but eventually I did get it. I'm gonna be the first person ever to land on the moon. Ooh, I think a really good one would be like a full body shot of me jumping onto the moon, like about to step on it in slow-mo. So I might have to change these camera settings to adjust for that. Then I got a few more shots to
I'm
mess
just
around with.
looking for
Okay, we're going to head into Photoshop to edit those
to
photos
see
and then
when you
eventually the video
are
as well.
staying here
So
without
let's
any.
start with a new Photoshop file, Moon 1. Okay, so a big part of this is going to be using stock images. Let's just search up space, and let's just use this as a starting point for our background. We'll keep our drawing low opacity on top, just so we remember what we're shooting for. The moon. Anyway, we can come back to that. Let's just move on to adding the pictures of me into here. Here's all the photos that we just took. I like to kind of just skim through these and see which one I like the best. It's definitely between these three. I'm not totally sure, so let's just drop them in. Okay, this one, the helmet's a little too tilted, I think. This one's kind of tilted as well. Maybe this one's the one. Nice and simple. Let's just do it. Okay, then while Photoshop did automatically cut this out pretty damn well, you can see there's still a few areas where the green screen's popping through, and especially along the edges. We'll just cut into here a little bit, and right here. Make sure we bring back anything that it takes out unintentionally. I think the green screen got pretty dark down here. We'll just kind of guess and do a little outline. Already not looking too bad, but I definitely don't fit in very well, especially considering I don't have a shadow in it. That's going to be a huge factor in this. Now, considering the first people on the moon were American, roughly the majority of people watching this video would be American, so I'm going to make sure that the rotation of the Earth shows America. Something more like this than this. I know that's a very small nitpick, but I promise you a lot of YouTubers are thinking this detailed when they make their own stuff. Okay, I'm kind of liking this one. Gosh, the checkerboard background is so annoying. It's really easy to get rid of in Photoshop, but it's just annoying that I have to do that. And our last main element that we're going to add is just some text in the corner. I don't know what I want this to say yet, and we'll definitely mess with the font and the size and everything. Now you'll notice that the lighting when I was shooting is kind of coming from this side. So we're going to say our light source, which would be the sun, is coming from this direction. The Earth lines up with this pretty well already. Let's just rotate it a little bit. But the surface of the moon that we've got does not look very good. You can see that this rock has a shadow going this direction, which is essentially just the opposite of our current light source. So this is a very easy solution. Let's just flip the background. Now moving on to my personal shadow, I actually don't know the best way to do this. One way is we could just make a copy and flip it and put it down here. Honestly, it doesn't look super terrible, but it clearly doesn't match up. Both of my feet are not connected to the shadow feet. So I'm just going to do that as a reference point, but I think we're going to just have to paint our own shadow in, which is a little unfortunate. I don't need this to look perfect, just usable, essentially. But you can see the shadow is kind of going over some of these rocks. So with the opacity down like this, I'm going to make a little pass. So we can literally just cut out these rocks, even the little guys. Okay, now let's lighten yourself just a little better. We can start by just brightening up some areas, give our boots a nice shine. And I'm thinking, honestly, a decent solution could be to just make it black and white. That totally takes out the greens. Works for me. Now, there's a pretty consistent green, outline across my entire body. This is definitely a downside of recording in front of a green screen, but it's going to be very helpful when we get to the video part of things. Next up, let's take out this patch, which we can do with the patch tool. Same with the other ones. They're kind of cool decorations, but don't seem very accurate to anything real. Nice. Then we can just add our own patches. Cut it out and shrink it nice and small. So probably on this side, mess with the perspective a little bit, since it's going to be wrapping around the shoulder, and give that some lighting change as well. Next up, we got the YouTube classic. Let's brighten up my eyes. I used to be proud of the fact that I didn't brighten up my eyes in the thumbnails, but sadly, it simply works too well. It does look harsh. I like to further it a little bit. And while we're at it, let's get rid of this little glare that's in my glasses. That looks a little messy so close up, but keep in mind our thumbnail is this big. But as you can see, the eye brightening really does make a difference. Ooh, I almost forgot. We gotta add the visor back in here, because we took that off for the actual photo shoot. So glass ball. Bring that down, bring it over my face, bring out the corners. This looks pretty messy right now. I'm hoping you can turn out. It might seem like I'm putting way too much care into some parts of this, but I can tell you from personal experience, these thumbnails matter so much. I've generally noticed that the more effort I put into thumbnails, the better they perform. Duh. But since the recent YouTube update where they let you test 3 different thumbnails at once, every new video I've made, I've tested not just 3, but as many thumbnails as I could make, starting from big changes to really little ones. And the videos I've done that for have performed significantly better. And I've been able to make some older videos kind of come back to life. Maybe now we have the gloves. To be real, I just kind of don't want to deal with them. But we gotta do it. Whoa, that looks really terrifying. Jeez Louise. Sometimes you'll come across stuff like that when you're erasing random layers and not others. Then you bring back the background layer and it's like, oh, we're fine. We'll have that as the base, then put the black ones on top and just make some little like details with it. Quite genuinely just drawing them on. I don't know if this design makes sense at all, but I think it looks kind of cool. Let's move on to the text. Why not? We could do like me with a little arrow, the moon. Let's bring it back first. That was kind of funny. What? Have I seriously not saved yet? Oh, that would have been really bad. A personal thumbnail test I do for myself is by zooming out as if I was looking at this on a phone and also holding it super far away. Like even super small, that looks pretty dang good. I'll do some more really tiny tweaks off camera just to get it as perfect as possible. That one took about 2 hours to make. Hopefully the other ones can be a little shorter. Anyway, let's copy this and start on the next one. Next up we'll do this one, which is just the altered version of the one we already did. I'll be real, this one went down basically the same as the last one, so I'll just give you a little recap. I dropped in my favorite of the sitting photos and messed with the positioning a little bit. I picked up the gloves and boots and threw out another janky shadow. A big thing that helped with erasing the inside edges of these boots, since the light shouldn't be hitting it there anyway, it looks better to just blend it in with the shadow. I was actually able to just copy over the last visor thing and warp it, which was really nice. And I just rearranged the words and replaced the patches on the screen.
টিভি করে দেখতেছি
Me again on accident, which was kind of funny. Hello there. Then I was finally done. Nice, got him. That looks good, man. And with that, it's time to shift our focus from far out to more zoomed in with some of these guys. These two are my favorites of the more close-up ones. And I was thinking about this boot one, and I realized that it makes absolutely no sense. Like, if the point is that I'm stepping onto the moon, you're not going to be seeing the moon in the actual photo. You'd only see space behind me, and I don't think that would look very good. Like, it would look interesting, but it would kind of defeat the purpose of the whole moon landing deal, you know? Only all three. Oh, this is going to be awesome. Let's move the Earth to be a little more noticeable in the background. As cringy as it is like a pretty well-framed photo. Also, this is kind of a random side note, but for this entire project, I decided to film in 4K. Nicer than my usual ones.
ড্রেসের কথা যে বলছিলেন
Project. A terabyte in a new hard
হ্যাঁ
drive
বলতে
later.
যে কাপড় কি জানে জেনে আমার কাছে দিয়ে দিয়েছে যে
So I'm sorry if the quality is
যে আমি
slightly
খেলার
worse
দরকার
now.
ইয়েছে
I'm
তখন
recording
আগে
in
ধরে
10
নিয়ে
I'm
আসছে
sorry.
আমার জন্য মারে আমার
I
কাপড় ফেরত
relatively
দিবি
enjoy
দিয়ে
the process of making
ব্যবস্থা নিতে
thumbnails.
আসছি আমি
It's
হ্যাঁ
nice to feel no
ঠিক আছে
pressure in the moment.
বলে বলে
It's
ফেরত
different
দিবেন
right now because I'm
কাপড়
recording
বিক্রি
it,
করে
but still,
টাকা
it
এরকম
fits in
কত
base
দাম
piece
জানো
like
150-150 টাকা অ্যাড করে
I
আমার
might
টাকা
try to
পাঠাবে
tone down some of the
তাহলে তো
visors
যে
just
কত
because it
কাপড়
takes away
বিক্রি
like
করে
all
3
the
হাত
contrast in my face.
4
And we gotta
গজ
make my
তো
skin
এগুলো
look
ভাবেন কাপড় মেরে দিয়ে 3 টাকা
not actually just taking away any big
জোর করে
spots.
এখন
You
বল
know this kind of looks like
খুবই খারাপ
freaking
অবস্থা
Vector and Despicable Me on the moon. That is a tragic comparison. I do not
ভাবি
want
বলে
to.
মেসেজ
This
দিচ্ছে
is just Vector.
মতো
I
থাকলে
feel like
আসিস
there's a lot of room
মানে
for
এমন
text
অবস্থা
in
দেখ
this one, so
সে
I
ভাবি
think
বুঝতে
that's
পারে
basically it. Which means it's time for the
খাইতে হবে তো
thumbnail.
খিচুড়িটা এরকম ঘুরে যাইতেছে কেন
আমি জানি
খাবো এখন নাকি নিচে যাব আমরা নিচে যাব আমরা হাঁটতে যাব
নিচে যাও
নিচে হাঁটতে যাব খেয়ে নাও নাকি
This one specifically is not.
ওরা দুজন থাক আমরা হেঁটে আসি জানো
Realizing the zipper does not help the illusion of it trying to look real, so I'm gonna get rid of that. No, I don't care now. I'm actually pretty excited about these. Again, I'll tweak these a little more off camera. Probably just really tedious stuff that won't be interesting to watch. And there we go. All 4 finished thumbnails. I went ahead and matched my favorite titles to each one of them, giving us these options with each one having its different word variations. And now all that's left is to show off our video. So after getting those thumbnails done, I spent basically the entire next day building this intro. So I'll just give you a little walkthrough of what I did and what all these blocks are, and then I'll show you the final result. Now I just started with this clip of myself. I'm gonna be the first person ever. And after doing the quick green screen treatment and cutting out the mask, it looks like this. And since we recorded that in 4K, it's really easy to zoom in without it losing a ton of quality. And I put myself in this background. It looks kind of like the interior of a rocket ship. I have no idea what it's supposed to look like, but I thought that looks fine. And then I just added some words to visually go along with what I was saying. Anyway, I took all these layers and essentially turned them into one video. And I wanted it to look like it was zooming out through the window into a bigger view of the space, like in space. Anyway, I
আচ্ছা
থাকো আমরা সামনেতে ঢুকে আসি
And so I thought a good way to show that would be to like zoom away through the stars
Nah.
to the moon. Also, I realized
Okay,
I wanted to
okay,
actually say
no,
more in the
no,
intro than I did on the green screen, so I did this little voiceover afterwards. In this video, you'll see how NASA was able to kind of
প্রথম আমি এটা বাসার ডেল্টাতে স্পন হইছি
NASA doing the spaceship and the rocket actually
find a nether fortress
fun of me just like taking the helmet off and swishing my hair around. So that's just another interior shot of our rocket ship. And then ending it off with a shot of me jumping onto the moon in slow-mo. You can see the shadow isn't necessarily where it's supposed to be, but it still looks decent. Essentially, I just copy-pasted that video of me and tilted it. Then I made it all black and added a little blend mode so that it would blend in a little better. Then to top everything off, I added a bunch of sound effects. I wanted it so that essentially everything that you're seeing visually, you could also hear in some way. So like when the camera moves, you're going to hear some sort of whoosh. Or even with like these words in the metal, I just wanted something there. Especially when we're zooming around and past the stars, I wanted it to feel like you're feeling the movement. I think that kind of like sounds like the stars are passing by your ears, you know? Which makes no sense in space. There's not supposed to be sound like at all. At a few spots, I added more ambient noise. At the very beginning, I have this boom, along with this. That was just taken from a random, like, news broadcast of a rocket ship blasting off. That just sounds like the interior of a spaceship to me. And finally, just this countdown.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
You know, just for dramatic effect. Also, I forgot to mention the song I used, which was a pretty crucial part of it. That was just taken from Antco's royalty-free album thing. It kind of just sounded like a solid YouTuber song, and it was free to use, so shout out to them. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Here's the final result. I'm gonna be the first person ever to land on the moon. In this video, you'll see how NASA was able to build the world's most powerful rocket.
And liftoff.
And how I became the astronaut that won the space race. So there we have it. I think the intro turned out pretty fun and the thumbnails worked pretty well. But which one is the best? The good news is we can actually find out. Like I mentioned earlier, YouTube now lets you test multiple thumbnails at once to see which one gets the most people to watch. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to test all 4 of these thumbnails to see which one gets the most clicks. And just to spice things up a little, I'll add in some bonus thumbnails. I had an idea to make some where you can see this sort of transition between the green screen and the final moon thumbnail we end up with. I was thinking that might represent this video that you're watching a little better. Then after a month or so, all the thumbnail tests should be over, and whichever thumbnail this video has after that will be the winner. We obviously can't go back in time to post that vlog, and I'm not going to use those titles for this video, but I think this is just about as scientific as we can get. Anyway, if you guys liked this video, remember I got the other 2 waiting, so make sure you don't miss out by hitting subscribe.
ওয়াশরুম থেকে আসতেছি I built another here. Did the glass melt? Let's make a viewing stand. Okay. Oh, let's place it here. Let's make a bleach powder. It will turn into aqua potion. Neither word.
Seriously, Minecraft খেলতেছিস না?
হ্যাঁ।
আমরা Minecraft খেলতেছি।
ও তুমি টি লঞ্চার?
টি লঞ্চার, হ্যাঁ।
তুমিও টি লঞ্চার খেলো, আমিও তো বাবার ল্যাপটপে টি লঞ্চার খেলি।
আমি এখন বেড ওয়ার্স খেলবো।
বেডওয়ার?
না, চল বন্ধ।
কি? হ্যাঁ, দাঁড়াও। How can you play Bed Wars?
দেখ আমি বেড ওয়ার্স খেলতেছি। তার একটা ম্যাচ দেখ। আমার খেলা।
আমি তো Bed Wars গেমটা চিনি, ওই যে
ওই চুপ থাক। আমার খেলা দেখ। তুই ফোন বন্ধ কর, আমার খেলা দেখ। ম্যাচ।
বাবা